Against the Odds by Shirley Galloway of Condell Park. 2200. Narrated by Janine Penfold. My husband and I immigrated to Australia in 1959 and loved it from the time we landed in Sydney. It took us 5 years to put a deposit on our first home. Naturally, working hard, plus making friends and enjoying life. Then we decided to try for our first baby. Being psychic, I knew I would have a boy. I even made and bought blue baby clothes for him. When checked by my GP with barely 8 weeks to go, he was worried about my blood pressure and referred me to a specialist at Camperdown, who immediately sent me to the RPA hospital as I was pre-eclamptic. Within hours, I gave birth to a blue-eyed baby boy with blonde hair, albeit 4 weeks early. I was checked regularly by a nurse overnight and the following day. Upon discharge, I was advised not to fall pregnant for at least 2 years because of being pre-eclamptic. Fortunately, David, our son, developed really well. He walked early, talked early, his progress was excellent. However, my GP did warn me to wait at least 2 years before being pregnant again, which I did. I was approximately 7 months pregnant when I started to bleed. The obstetrician I was under advised me to spend more time in bed, definitely not pick up David or carry heavy shopping. My husband was wonderful, took time off work and helped around the house, cooking for the 3 of us. With 6 weeks to go, I started to experience birth pains, so Ian took me to the local hospital about 7 p.m. that night. Approximately 9 p.m, I gave birth to a tiny baby girl 6 weeks early. I was so excited I had a girl, I didn't sleep at all that night. I was discharged early, but had to leave our gorgeous baby in hospital. I went in every day to nurse and feed her, also expressed milk to leave for her overnight. We were both so thrilled it was a girl and named her Leanne. We bought a larger brick home with 3 bedrooms so that our daughter could have her own room later. As Leanne was barely 5 pounds at birth, she was kept in hospital until she put more weight on, which took 3 weeks before being discharged. Her progress was much slower than David's, so when she was 12 months old, our local GP suggested seeing a paediatrician, as her head flopped to her left side sitting up. She could not balance when standing and only giggled trying to talk. David was talking at that age. The top paediatrician in our suburb checked her out, referring me to a hearing specialist. When I returned for the results, he told me very bluntly, "This child will never be normal, go to normal school or mix with normal children, and you have to face up to that fact." I was devastated and walked directly to our GP, crying all the way. I knew Leanne had potential, as she did a child's jigsaw puzzle upside down and was such a happy baby as she laughed a lot. When I saw our GP, he actually thumped his hand on his desk and said, "He is not God. He does not know what this child is capable of doing in 5, 10 or 15 years' time." So he referred me for further tests. The results were she was hearing impaired in her left ear due to a high bilirubin infection when born. After more tests, we were told she had the worst pair of valgoid feet, flat feet, ever seen, so special shoes were made for her. Several months later, she developed asthma. We took her to the Children's Hospital, which was at Camperdown in those days. Medication was prescribed for her, which definitely helped. One very positive moment when Leanne was 18 months old, I called to see our neighbour. Knocked on her door, no answer, so I called loudly over the side fence. "Reenie! Are you there, Reenie? Reenie!" Leanne also shouted, "Neenie! Neenie!" I cuddled her, telling her she was a very good girl. She giggled, cuddling me back. Speech therapy classes definitely helped, plus she was then wearing one hearing aid. We gave her musical toys to play with, a small keyboard, a drum and recorder. When 4 years old, the paediatrician at the hospital suggested I enrol her into kindergarten and actually told me to say that she had a hearing problem, but not to mention anything else, and see if the supervisor picked anything up. I naturally followed his instructions. When Leanne reached 5 years old, I will never forget taking her to the local school for the very first time. She was so excited and ran in through the door smiling, waving back at me with a huge grin on her face. Other girls, even boys, not wanting to leave Mummy and hanging on to her, crying. Leanne's progress was excellent. Because she loved music, I took her to our local piano teacher, reading music extremely well. Her teacher sent her for a first examination to the Conservatorium of Music, which she passed brilliantly. Her piano teacher suggested she try the flute, as it may help with her asthma. A flute was purchased from the local music shop, where a teacher there taught her how to play. Leanne joined the local PCYC. Her progress was amazing, competing in several competitions when she was about 15 years old, winning first prize in 3 state championships, progressing to the national championships, winning 2 in 2 years. Unbelievably, when attending our local high school, she even won the public speaking competition 3 years in a row. What made me was Leanne being accepted into the Conservatorium of Music to do her Bachelor of Music degree. As 80 students applied, 10 only were accepted, and she was one of them. What a wonderful achiever she turned out to be. The end.